You want to find that drive and focus that has you locked in and on fire every single day? My book, The Mirror Motivation, will do it for you. I bought a copy for you. You take care of the shipping. The book is free. Click the link down there. I got you. Today is a beautiful day because you are tuned in to the show where you're going to bring out the discipline to move yourself to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, the go-getter energy that moves you to make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. Putting all this together, you get the mindset, the method, the podcast known as Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day. Welcome to the show. Today's topic is how to be more driven. You want to be a more driven individual. Some people call it motivated, some people call it inspired, some people call it excited, on fire. You want to be a more driven individual. That's what we're talking about here today. I looked up this definition of drive. There's two, one for drive and one for driven. Drive is to propel or carry along by force in a specified direction. So do you want to be a person who is propelled or carried along by force in a specified direction by yourself? You're driven by yourself. Do you want to be that person? And I looked at the definition of driven, which gives us an even better, this one more specific to what I'm talking about here today. Not just the mechanical definition, which could also apply metaphorically to life, but the direct definition of driven. Relentlessly compelled by the need to accomplish a goal. Also, very hardworking and ambitious. But I like the first part of that definition. Is great. Perfect description of what we're talking about here today. Relentlessly compelled by the need to accomplish a goal. Would you like that? Would you like to be relentless? Do you want to feel compelled? Do you want to have a need to accomplish a goal? This is a perfect definition for what we're talking about here today. When we feel good, whenever we feel excited about what we're doing, or we see a future positive out of what we're doing, we want to be a driven individual. We want to be this person who's driven. We want to be excited. We want to be locked in and focused and doing our thing all the time. When people write me or they give me some form of testimonial, whether it be in a direct message or an email or something they leave on my website, people talk about this, that listening to you or reading your stuff or watching your stuff has moved me to be more of this person that I just described. Relentlessly compelled by the need to accomplish a goal, right? Having goals, being compelled, being relentless, continuing to move even when things are not working. That's the mental toughness element of work on your game that we talk about every single day here. When we are feeling good, we want to be the most driven person that we can be. Is it possible then to manufacture this energy? Is it possible to manufacture the energy of being driven? Is it possible to manufacture drive from within? The answer to the question is yes. And today's episode is all about how to do that. So let's get right to it. Point number one, today's topic, once again, is how to be a more driven individual. Malcolm Gladwell's recent book, it's called Talking to Strangers. If you have not read this book, and I suggest that you do, if you want to listen to the audio book, which I did, I suggest you do that also, because Gladwell actually made this new kind of audio book I haven't heard anyone else do before, where he basically takes his podcast. He has a podcast called Revisionist History. If you haven't heard it, to it. And what he does, instead of him just talking through every word in his book, whenever he quotes a person, let's say he says this person said this, he actually, if he can, he has the audio of the person actually saying it. That individual person saying that thing, he puts that in the audio book. Or if there's a conversation, he gets the audio from the conversation. Or if there's a certain person that he interviewed for the book, he puts the audio of that person talking during the interview in the book. So it's not just him the whole time, even though it is him. You're also hearing the conversations, you're hearing the audio between people, and he actually uses music in the background often. So it's a really well put together audio book. So I listened to this audio book, and I'm a person who reads a book, then I'll get the audio book if I think the audio is also great. So this book, Talking to Strangers, he talks about this idea of coupling. And what he was talking about in this book was actually how police forces work, and how in some places in America, many places in America, police forces decided, they got this bright idea that if we put more cops on the street, that will reduce crime. Or they got this other bright idea to go with it, which was if we had the cops that are already on the street and we just tell them to do more police work, quote unquote police work, and their version of police work was pull over more vehicles, or in some places where the stop and frisk rule is available, they would. One of the main things was cops and patrol cars pulling over more vehicles than usual for myriad reasons, whatever reasons the cop could come up with to pull over a car. And in the United States, the way the law is set up, Gladwell talks about this in the book, a police officer could pull over a vehicle for damn near anything. All right, the umbrella of reasons for a cop to pull you over is so wide that it's really hard for you to argue that they didn't have the right to pull you over. They can pretty much pull you over for anything that they want. And one of the idea of coupling, though, that I'm talking about here is that Gladwell explains that when the police were looking to reduce crime, it shouldn't just be pull over more vehicles everywhere in the city or everywhere in the town, because then we'll find more crime going on. That didn't work at all. There was a city, I can't remember what city it was he was talking about, but he said in 1 year, the cops had made 400,000 traffic stops, right? And then in the next year, they doubled that to 800,000 traffic stops, because their goal was to find more guns, more firearms that were like unlicensed firearms that could take people to jail. So out of 400,000 additional traffic stops, you know how many more guns they found from that 400 additional traffic stops? 17. Isn't that crazy? 17 additional guns were found from 400,000 additional traffic stops. The whole concept of coupling that Gladwell was making here, that he made along with the research from the people who were involved in this whole study, and is a bigger story that goes into this. Read the book if you want to get it. Is that it's not just people having, let's say, people being stopped by cops is going to reduce the crime rate. It's doing it in areas in which the crime is happening. So if you couple more police activity with the area where the crimes are happening, then you get the reduction in crime. But not just doing more police activity, period, just in general. All that's going to do is alienate 399,993 people, 983 people, because they didn't have a gun. All you did was stop them, and you're looking for reasons to extend the conversation between you and that person because something might happen. And this is what has led to police stops, traffic stops going awry. One of the specific ones that Malcolm Gladwell talked about in the book was the Sonic Brand case down in Texas. And if you don't know about that, again, read the book or listen to the book so you can get the information. And I'm bringing up the idea of coupling for this. We are not so compelled to do things that we will do them just no matter what. There was another instance actually in the same book, I wanted to bring this up as well, that Gladwell talked about a person committing suicide. That there was a time when you could commit suicide by sticking your head in the oven because of the way that the ovens were made and the gas coming out of it. You stuck your head in the oven and you sealed off any way you could escape. You could kill yourself just by that. But nowadays ovens are made differently. That's not going to work anymore. And there was a time when you could kill yourself by putting your car in a garage, an enclosed garage, and closing the garage and running the car, and that would kill you. But nowadays, the way that cars are made and the way that the emissions are set up, that you probably can't do that anymore either. And what many people falsely believed was that if you stopped the way that someone could commit suicide, let's say if someone was thinking of committing suicide through sticking their head in the oven or through locking themselves in the garage and running their car engine, that if you stop them from being able to do it that way, that person would just find a different way to commit suicide, right? Because they want to commit suicide. So if they want to kill themselves, they're going to find a way to do it one way or another, right? That's how most people think. That's probably how I would have thought before I heard what Malcolm Gladwell said. What he said was this whole idea of coupling that I'm talking about is that if you take away the apparatus that a person would normally use to do a certain thing, then they're not going to do it at all. So if the person can't stick their head in the oven and kill themselves, then there's a pretty good chance they're not going to kill themselves at all. If you take away the gun that the person would use to shoot themselves in the head, then they're not going to find a different way to do it. If you take away the way that they could have locked themselves in the garage and let the car run, and they can't kill themselves that way, then they're not going to kill themselves at all. We do things not only when we have the desire to do it, but also when we have the opportunity to do it. Now, when you think about that for your own life, I'm going to say the point one more time, that we do things not just because we have the desire to do it, but also because the opportunity to do it is available to us. You really want to do something, but the opportunity to do it is not around. Most human beings are not going to look long and far and hard and deep to find the opportunity to fulfill that desire. Most of us don't do that. Most of us, when we really want to do something, we find a way to set our lives up in such a way that the opportunity for doing it couples with the desire to do it, which makes it much easier to actually execute. Let me give you a better example. I'll give you a better example of that, or a more real life example. Those are great examples. So I'll give you a more real life example. We are not so compelled to just do things no matter what, quote unquote. And that takes a whole lot of brain energy, takes a whole lot of psychic energy, a lot of physical energy, and often a lot of resources that many of us simply don't have to give when the opportunity is not available, when it's not coupled with the desire. You need both. We do stuff when we have both at the same time, but often not with just the desire alone. So, for example, to make it easy on yourself, if you want to go to the gym, what do? If you want to go to the gym more often, but you haven't been on, what do they say? Lay out your gym clothes the night before, put your sneakers next to your bed, put everything in the car, put it in your work bag so you have it for after work. So it makes it very easy for you to have to go to the gym so you don't have to exercise so much willpower. You know, people like to talk about willpower a lot. I've done a whole episode on willpower here on this show. Understand something. Willpower is limited. There's only a certain amount of willpower all of us as human beings have. Some of us have a little bit more of it than others, but we all have a limit to our willpower. So instead of using up all of our willpower to do the things that we desire, how about you just set up your life in such a way that you don't have to use all your willpower? You have things set up for you so that you don't have to make a tough decision on, am I going to go all the way home, get my gym clothes, change clothes out of my work clothes, get back in the car, then drive across town to the gym? How about instead of doing all that, you just put the gym clothes in the car so that you can go straight to the gym after work? That reduces the need for you to utilize more willpower. So if you want to go to the gym, you lay out the clothes, right? If you want to stop eating chocolate, what's one thing you could do that will help you stop eating chocolate? How about don't buy chocolate from the supermarket and put it in the fridge and hope that you don't eat it? How about you just don't buy it? So now the chocolate, the presence of the chocolate is not coupled with your desire for the chocolate. All right, there are times over the course of my day, like for example, I stopped eating candy months ago. I haven't eaten candy in months. Now I have some donuts. I'll definitely have some donuts. Don't get me wrong. But one way that helps me not eat candy is not having candy in the house. If there's candy in the house, there's a good chance that when I have a craving for candy, I'll eat it because it's right there in the pantry for me to eat. But if it's not there, I'm not going to go out of my way. I'm not going to go out of the house, go to the CVS or go to the grocery store and buy the candy because that takes extra work. It takes extra willpower. There are extra steps that I would have to take in order to get it. See, that coupling is not there. My willpower is not going to drive me to do all of that extra work. Why? Because I, just like you, just like every other human being, we are all inherently lazy. We're trying to conserve energy. So if you couple what you want with the opportunity to do it, it will make it much more likely that you do it. Now, if you decouple the desire to do something from the actual opportunity to do it, it is much less likely that you do it. For example, on this very show, every day I tell you, hey, you can go here and you can get this. If you go here, you can get this free video series. You can get this book that I'm talking about. You can get this. You can get into this membership. You can start this course. If there was a way that just me saying, let's say blinking your eyes, go straight to that website and see it, a lot more of you would do it than if I'm telling you it and you had to go type it in or you had to go to the show notes and click on a link. It makes it much harder because I'm adding an extra step. You see that? They're decoupled. Me telling you what you could do, maybe planting the desire in your mind, and the opportunity for you to do it, the actual action of clicking on a link or going to a URL, they are decoupled. There's extra steps that are required. Makes it that much harder. When it's simple for people to do, people do it. So if you don't want to eat chocolate, don't bring it in the house. If you don't want to drink, you stay out of the bar. If you want to be a driven individual, I'm telling you all of that just to get to this point of this first point here, which is, again, the topic today is how to be more driven. You want to be a driven individual, you need goals and you need reasons. They need to be coupled together. To be a driven individual, you need goals, things that you actually want to achieve, and you need reasons to achieve them. You need both. Not just a whole bunch of reasons with no outcome, and not just a whole bunch of goals with no reasons to get there. You would not drive a car hard, for example. You wouldn't be driving really fast and really aggressively on the road if you didn't have anywhere to be. All right. Whenever you see someone driving really aggressive and really fast on the road and doing some stuff that might not be in compliance with the rules of the road, You see someone doing that, it's probably because they have somewhere they need to be. There's a destination that they're trying to get to. They know exactly where they're going, and they have strong reasons to get there. That's why they drive the way that they drive, right? If you see someone driving, and they don't have a place to go in particular, maybe they're just driving around because they like to be in their cars and they want to listen to some music or whatever reason they're in the car, they're probably not going to drive so aggressively and so hard. Why? Because they don't have anywhere to go. They don't have a destination to get to. And they don't have a strong reason to be getting there that fast. And this is why they drive much more relaxed. And you could also have somewhere to go and reason to get there and not drive crazy. But you get the point that I'm making, do you not? You need goals and reasons at the same time. They must be coupled together. Same way that Gladwell said, if you want to reduce crime in the city, don't just have the cops pull over more cars. Have them pull over more cars in the places where crime happens. That's where it's going to be more effective. Higher ROI. If you want to stop eating chocolate, don't just say, I'm going to stop eating chocolate. Don't just not buy it in the house. Do both. Have the desire to stop eating it and stop buying it from the grocery store. So when you couple those together, it'll be a whole lot easier for you to stop eating chocolate. You want to go to the gym, lay your clothes out, and have a desire to go to the gym. When you couple the desire and the opportunity, that's when things happen. The opportunity for you when it comes to being driven are the goals. The goals are the opportunity, things you're going to reach. The desire are your reasons. You need both. Point number 2. Today's topic is how to be more driven. Being driven does not mean that things will always be working in your favor. Which means, since things will not always be working in your favor, you must have your internal conversation on point, intact, and in place for when things are not working. Every day, I introduce this show by telling you, you are developing the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing your work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. That's what I'm talking about right here. Things are not always going to be working for you, no matter how driven of an individual, how motivated, how whatever way you want to describe yourself, things are not always going to be working in your favor, no matter what. Therefore, knowing this, you got to have your right internal conversation in place for these times, because they will exist. In other words, what are you saying to yourself every single day? What is your internal self-conversation when you're looking at your situation and it's not looking so great right now? Understand that this internal conversation needs to be a daily practice. This is not something that you just do when you need it. You need it every day. This is something you need to be doing on a consistent basis. This needs to be a habit, an unconscious habit that's happening every single day, you controlling your internal conversation. And this is something that I cover in detail, exactly how to craft that internal conversation, how to have it with yourself every single day in my book, The Mental Workbook, which you can get at workonmygame.com/workbook. Workonmygame.com/workbook for the mental workbook. Being driven means you must control what you're saying to yourself. This drive, this relentlessly being compelled by the need to accomplish a goal, to be that hardworking and ambitious person. Understand you're not always going to be driven by the results that you're getting, because sometimes there ain't going to be no results. Sometimes things are just not working out. How are you going to stay driven on those days? See, being driven is not a part-time job. You can't do it on Monday and Tuesday, then take Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off, and then say, all right, now I'm motivated again on Saturday. It's not how it works. It's an everyday thing. So what is the internal conversation that you're having? And when you're looking at your situation is not going well, what are you saying to yourself? And these things should be coming to you automatically, not, oh, now I got to remember what this. No, these are things that should be coming to you automatically. Why? Because you're having this internal conversation every day. And in the mental workbook, I'll show you exactly what that is, how to do it, why to do it, and help you put yours together. Point number 3, today's topic is how to be a more driven individual. Understand that most people are not driven. Most people in the world do not have drive. They are not relentless. They are not compelled to action. They do not have goals, and they don't have strong reasons for reaching them. Most people are not driven in any way. So the question then is, knowing this, what are you consistently doing that most people are not doing? Since most people are not driven, then you need to be doing something different than most people. What is it? What are you doing that everybody around you is not doing? And I don't only mean with your work. Because almost everybody can say they're doing work that everybody else isn't doing. At least those of us who are driven. Those of you who are listening to this, you can probably point out that you're doing some things at work that other people aren't doing. But here's another question, though. Here's a follow-up question to that, an additional question to that. How are you getting better at your work? I understand that you're probably doing more work. Maybe you show up earlier. Maybe you stay later. Maybe you work harder while you're at work. But this is a different question. What are you doing to get better at your work? What are you doing to get smarter at doing what you do? How are you separating yourself not only from others, it's a big question here, but from past versions of yourself? That's a deep one right there. What are you doing to separate yourself, not just from the pack of everybody else, but to separate yourself from the person you were yesterday, the person you were 3 months ago or 3 weeks ago? How have you improved? Just working harder is not the answer that we're looking for here. Working longer is not the answer that we're looking for here. How have you gotten smarter? How have you gotten more efficient at what you do? How have you gotten better at what you do? How have you 80-20'd what you do? Have you looked at where 80% of your results are coming from and found the 20% input that is causing them and done more of that and less of everything else? Have you done that? If you're not doing that on a consistent basis, you're not separating yourself from yourself. So it doesn't matter you're separating from everybody else, because no matter where you go, there you are, as they say. So what are you doing to separate yourself from you in addition to separating yourself from everybody else? That's one you need to think long and hard on. Maybe you need to write some notes on for yourself. And point number 4, today's topic is how to be a more driven individual. You can go get the Mirror of Motivation, the self-guide to self-discipline, free right now by going to workonmygame.com/motivation. That's the point. That's what this book is all about, is finding that drive from within, looking inside of yourself. That's why it's called the Mirror of Motivation, because when you look in the mirror, what do you see? You see yourself. The mirror does not tell any lies. You look in that mirror, that's where you're going to find that motivation, that inspiration, that drive, the light in that fire that's going to push you to do what you need to do so you can do everything that we're talking about here as we recap today's topic, which is how to be more driven. Definition of driven is to be relentlessly compelled by the need to accomplish a goal, to be very hardworking and ambitious. How do you manufacture drive? Point number 1, you must couple your desire with the opportunity. The same way that if you want to go work out, then you couple your desire to go to the gym with the fact that you lay your gym clothes out. It makes it much more easier, requires much less willpower. If you want to stop drinking, couple your desire to stop drinking with the fact that you stop going to the bar. You want to stop eating chocolate, couple your desire to stop eating chocolate with the fact that you stop buying chocolate from the grocery store every time you're in the checkout line. You must couple these together. You want to be more driven, then you must couple your reasons for being driven with some goals to actually achieve. When you see someone driving aggressively on the road, it's probably because they have reasons and they have goals. If they don't have both, they're probably not going to drive so aggressively. You need both. Point number 2, being driven does not mean things are always working, which means you need to control what you are saying to yourself consistently, because your internal self-talk will be very necessary when you're looking at a situation that is not so great right now. You're not sure how, if, or when it will change. What is your internal self-talk? This needs to be a daily practice, which is why you have the mental workbook, right? Which you can get at workonmygame.com/workbook. That is the book that teaches you the daily strategies to create the mindset that will lead you to being the person that will do the things that creates the success that you want in your life. Again, that's at workonmygame.com/workbook. Point number 3, most people are not driven. Therefore, you need to know what you're consistently doing that most people are not doing. And I don't just mean working harder at your work or working longer hours at your work. How are you getting better at what you do? Not just doing more of what you do, but getting better at what you do. How are you getting smarter at what you do? How are you separating yourself not only from other people, but from past versions of yourself? These are questions you should have answers to, and you need to be working on enacting these every single day. And point number 4, you want to become the most driven person that you know, get the Mirror of Motivation. Free right now, shipping it worldwide. With the physical book, go to workonmygame.com/motivation to get that right now and get that drive, light that fire, be that person that you want to be so that you can be relentlessly compelled by the need to accomplish a goal. If you want to be that person, that's what you need to do. Work on your game. Dre all day.